All right, we will call this meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order at 6 o'clock on January 15th. If we'll all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on the agenda is the roll call. All members are present with the exception of Mr. Beitler. Any modifications? There are no modifications to the agenda, correct?
That's correct.
So then, first one is announcements and presentations. Chief Trexler, I believe, is here for a presentation.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I have a few additional handouts to add to. For those that don't know me, my name is Ryan Trexler. I'm the fire chief of the Lower Macungie Fire Department. This is my second year as fire chief. Prior to that, I was deputy chief for 5 years, and then prior to that, assistant chief for 11 with the Alberta's Fire Department. The first thing I would just want to make a comment. The beginning of this week, Monday morning, Jim Van Wert, a member for 45 years, assistant chief for 25, lost his battle with cancer. I know I gave a large bundle of statistics. I'm going to highlight a couple of those important numbers and then obviously elaborate on some of them. The biggest thing you'll notice on the very front page, comparing 2024 to 2025, was the overall increase in call volume. In 2024, the fire department ended with 767 emergencies. That increased by 20%, and we ended at 970. I'll go into a couple factors that we think led to that. And then the breakdown below is our three primary coverage areas and then where we provide mutual aid. So there was an increase in Lower Macungie alone by 156 responses. This year we began to track incidents that were handled just by our chief officers. So sometimes we get a voicemail saying, I'm not sure if I have a problem, my alarm's beeping. If a chief will go out there before we dispatch the fire department for lower acuity emergencies. So there was 29 of those incidents. That also may encompass, like when we had a dignitary come and we had to have a crew stand by, that was under the chief umbrella. Even though we had more personnel there, it didn't count against members that are at work during the day. Every year we track our fire alarms to see where we're going. Prior to my time, fire alarms continued to increase, which prompted the ordinance that's in place today. And when that ordinance was enacted, there was a significant decrease in fire alarms, which was good because the toll on the members lessened. Obviously, with increasing development and aging of businesses, you're starting to see more responses, which I don't see there being a way to decrease that. I think the inspection program that's in place is fantastic and probably reduces the amount of responses that we would potentially be going to because they're held to a standard by having their system tested annually, having somebody walk through their business. I think that's a huge pro for the fire department. Our response times stayed very similar, and that's from the time the dispatch center alerts our members until that fire apparatus rolls out the door. A couple seconds faster, 5 minutes, 59 seconds on average. The responses by LMFD station, just to give a little background, our entire coverage area is broken into a big puzzle, and each puzzle piece is given a number. And that specific puzzle piece gets different fire apparatus for the very western side of the area compared to the very eastern side of the area, because there may be a mutual aid partner that's closer. So we're able to pick and choose which fire trucks are coming to an incident, which is why each station has a separate call volume. We're not asking our members to go to 970 emergencies. We're asking them to handle what's in their primary district. And obviously, when there's a fire or a crash with somebody entrapped, all three of the fire departments are sending apparatus and equipment. So that is a slight reason why there's an increase on each department's call volume. During the day, we increased. We know who our members are that are around for emergencies. Rather than having them drive past their closest fire station to go to a given apparatus that's supposed to respond, we're now, for certain instances, like inside odors, rollover accidents that all three fire stations weren't being dispatched to, now we're sending an apparatus out of each of those three. So we have a fire apparatus on the road quicker with people that are assigned to that building. And then at the bottom is our, I'll say our most frequent neighbors that we assist, and they assist us in the township. And that is not a comparative number to 2024. That's just overall. The column on the left is how many times we provided assistance, and the column on the right is how many times we received assistance in our first due coverage area. Any questions on that overall?
I have a question.
Yes.
The response time, 5:59, is extremely fast.
I appreciate
That's
that.
really awesome. Is that the time from the station to the home, or from the call to the firefighter leaving their home to the station and then to the fire?
So there's the time that's used for dispatch is when the 911 center alerts us. The 911 center is required to process that 911 call in a certain amount of time, but that could be up to 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes. So there could be 2 minutes added to that for them processing the call in the computer system, again, to plug in that puzzle piece, to pull up the correct list of fire apparatus. Then they have to, the more stations that are involved, the more tones for our pager that have to get selected in the computer, and then they send the call out.
So one of the firefighters could get the call at home, get to the station, and then to the fire in 6 minutes?
Correct.
Wow. That's really awesome.
I know when I go through one of these pages here, the other statistic that I thought is interesting is the amount of overlapping incidents we have, which also leads to, I think, our response time being quicker. Greater than 20% of the time, we're already on a call and being dispatched to another call, which is, so between 150 and 180 times, there's more than one station from the Lower-Macungie Fire Department out somewhere going to an emergency. Any other? Yes.
So just because I think in our email, or we had emailed some more information, and it was much more in depth. This is just the first arrival, right? So this is
correct.
This is not necessarily the fire truck arriving. This is just first arrival, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and not, I just wanted to make sure, because I read some other numbers and I realized, all right, that's what I was looking at. And there is a variation of it, and very understandable, and
Yeah.
it is a process. I mean, it's an emergency, and however they get there is great.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I understood that. So,
So-
there's a few variations.
There, I will get you the exact report.
I mean, I did look at it, and I remember thinking like, oh, okay.
There's a couple other factors that play into that number. There's a report in here that shows how long it takes from en route to on scene. The variable that isn't taken into consideration with a lot of those averages is any time. So that 180 times we're going for mutual aid, our response time is greater, and it's not taken off of. There's no way to look at just the data for our
Got it.
first
So
due area.
If you're traveling to Salisbury, which would be further
Correct.
than traveling to an immediate accident in the township,
Correct.
that time distorts your average, is what you're saying.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay,
So-
yeah, no, that's very good.
And in addition to that, our fire department is one of 4 fire departments in Lehigh County that provides rapid intervention team coverage. So that is a specialized crew of firemen that are dispatched to the scene of a building fire, and your sole purpose is to go in after trapped or unaccounted for firemen. So that area is pretty significantly large. That leads to the reason why we provided mutual aid to 16 different municipalities in the year. So 40 of those incidents were just for the rapid intervention team, going to either a working fire or greater alarm fire.
Great.
Any other questions on the first page?
Is it possible for you to, I mean, I know you have some of the data. Is it possible for you to split the data differently to maybe take out some of those? Or is it pretty hard based on the information that you have?
One of our projects for 2025 was, so all of our reports get submitted to NMFRS, which is a federal reporting system that is no longer in use as of January 31st of 2026. So throughout last year, we demoed numerous softwares, and beginning January 1st of 2026, we're using a new program to report to the new federal mandate, which is NERIS. So their data that they're collecting looks at all the same fire statistics that we care about. It looks at response times, but it also looks at a lot of community risk reduction items. The report side of it is completely different. So next year's packet is not going to look like this, because the reports, although it gives you the same data, it's not in the same format. So I'm going to do my best. We're tracking everything the same, but it's definitely going to look different next year. And I will, if there is a way to separate, so all of those puzzle pieces have a number that we correlate to, a box number. I may be able to do a report just on our boxes with the new program. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the first page? The packet that I handed out in addition to what was emailed out, because I kind of assumed there was going to be a few more questions on why did our call volume increase and how are we doing with staffing. So the very next page is just the list of calls that our chiefs only responded to. You'll see. The very next page is a correlation between 2024 and 2025 for the major call types. So this accounts for all 970. You're going to see the first thing that pops out is why did we have a 77% increase in fires? So that 100 series report could be anything from a cooking fire to a smoking outlet. The one thing we changed this year with the way we were, a lot of those, I'll say non-incident, lower level smoking outlet didn't get a fire investigation, and it was listed as a good intent, which is why the good intent line item, even though it's lower, when you look at our trend, a lot of those were listed as good intent or public service. Our rescues and hazardous materials responses, this year we did go on an increasing number of gas calls, whether it be odors outside, odors inside. UGI has been fantastic to work with. Their technicians we're on a first name basis with, and all of them have been very minor in nature and taken care of expeditiously by their staff.
Just a question.
Yes.
You'd mentioned some preventative measures that you're doing for businesses. Are there any patterns that you're seeing here where there could be other preventative measures that maybe we could look at?
So on the fire inspection side, I wouldn't be able to answer that for you. We meet regularly with the fire inspector, but he's out in the field doing those inspections. We're notified when there's an issue, so our staff know if we're going to a property, what that issue may be. On the residential side, we'll track what the cause of the alarm was. Like, was it cooking? Was it as simple as they went to change the batteries? Because we do a really good job putting out notifications. Your clock's changed, check your batteries, but we don't add in there that if you have an alarm system, call your alarm company and put it on test. So just by changing the batteries, your alarm goes off, the fire department gets dispatched. That is very common. So we are trying to ramp up our social media this year just to kind of get different messages out.
Great. Thank you.
The very next page is just I tracked every fire or rescue response just to see out of, they call them box alarms, 175 reported fires, how many were actually fires, and how many were in our district. So out of 175 reported fires, 51 of them were in our first two coverage area, 33 of them were actual fires. And then sliding across to the rescue side of it, honestly, because of vehicle technology, there's just as many, if not more, crashes in our area, but the cars do what they're supposed to do, and we're not seeing as many people critically injured or entrapped in their vehicle as we had years prior. The next graph, again, talking about the rapid intervention team, that just shows where we were for the last 6 years. And you saw a lot of that could fluctuate. I mean, we don't do the same amount of fires every year, so that's going to go up and down, but we're staying in that general same vicinity. I was curious on our mutual aid, how much we receive and how much we assist. That's the next two pages. They've stayed almost straight line. Our mutual aid given has started to slowly increase, but that is, to be honest, across the state and across the country, just needing more people on scenes and being a little bit more proactive on making sure we have the right amount of personnel and apparatus coming to a reported fire.
Actually, I have a question about that. So
Yes.
you're suggesting that it's not that other municipalities are being more dependent on us, it's more of just regulatory-wise, there's a better overall response.
Correct. I think most municipalities have taken a look at their responses, and instead of saying we're going to get 3 fire apparatus out, we're going to ask a mutual aid partner to, I don't want to say fill in, but cover that last one. That probably isn't making it to the fire scene anyway. So I think it gets firemen out the door quicker. It gets people on the scene faster than waiting for a 3rd or 4th apparatus. That probably isn't adequately staffed anyway.
And if I understood, so are you saying that they're getting the call, they're making their way to the station, but they may not actually leave the station?
Oh, no, they're still...
Oh, okay.
Nope, absolutely. Their fire departments are still handling the call. We're just coming in to assist.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I guess I'm saying, so in the mutual aid, let's say you're going to Salisbury. Salisbury's department's gone out first. It's their municipality. We've gotten the mutual aid call. And maybe I just misunderstood how you were saying it, but I thought you were saying that everyone's getting that call at that same time.
Correct.
But the first department's getting there and then might be calling off the other departments, but it still counts as a call?
That's still, yeah, absolutely. So going back to that first, like our average response time is based on the first apparatus out the door. So if somebody's traveling from 3 or 4 miles farther to get to the firehouse, that next fire apparatus might not be leaving for 6 or 7 minutes after that. Where if I know my neighbor's going to get out the door in 6 minutes, you end up more or less getting to the scene right behind that other apparatus.
Right.
Is that
Yes.
answer?
No,
I apologize.
It's good. It filled in the blanks that I was trying to.
The other factor is a lot of places have looked at redundant equipment and are not, because of the cost of fire apparatus, are not having an extra engine. When we have 2, do we really need a 3rd? And I think that's playing into that also slightly.
Excellent. Thank you.
The next 2 graphs are average personnel per call. This is just for year 2025, the first one, and then the second one shows our personnel per call per station for the last 6 years. I think our recruitment and retention committee have done a great job bringing new members in. This past year alone, we brought in 10 new members. 8 of them are in the Firefighter 1 program. Currently, that's actually being hosted at our fire station. We have a roster of 61 firefighters and 10 fire police between the 3 buildings. We continue to ensure we have adequate staffing for our responses, and I can confidently say our graph has shown a pretty steady, nearly straight line.
In terms of staffing, do you have any concerns about staffing? Are there any times of day or week that are more of a concern?
So the one thing I mentioned about daytime responses, we know who works locally or who works night shift and is around during the day, and we already made that change. So we have all of our available personnel coming out to an incident. And since we made that change at the beginning of last year, we've seen a dramatic increase in efficiency.
Great.
Any other questions? Were there any questions from the initial packet that I had sent out? If not, I think I'll just point out the very second to last page, our man hours of what we spend time doing. So again, we have a staff of 71 members, and we ask those members, anytime they're at the fire station to do something, we fill out a work detail. So we know how much time it's taking for our entire operation. So the data that gets put in is only makes the data that comes out as good as it can be. But last year we did 15,160 man hours of events at the fire station. The two highest, number 2 being incident response at 4,462, and the one that I'm very proud of is training. Out of the 15,160 man hours, right at 7,000 man hours have been spent training. It's been something that for the last 2 decades or more, we've always tried to encourage everybody to train. We held a minimum standard for firemen, for our rescue personnel. We try to offer as much as we can so we can be the most prepared for whatever emergency that we're dispatched to. And I'm happy that we have the buy-in to continue spending time training and educating ourselves. The very last page, I believe, is, oh, no, that's the second to last page, I apologize, is how those hours for our Monday night training worked out. What were we actually doing? And you can see a wide variety, the ISO, insurance agency, we need to meet a standard for fire suppression training, but that's not the only thing we do. So we need to do Con Ed for our medical certifications. We need to do vehicle rescue and water rescue training. We try and get out in businesses, do walkthroughs. So it's not it's the first, when we're dispatched there, it's not the first time we're inside a building. Apologies. I'm going to move away from the statistics if there's no other questions. All right. So what else do we do in 2025? I know there was a large media presence surrounding PFAS and how we shouldn't be using that in the fire service. In 2024, we paid to have all of our foam tanks and dispose of all of our PFAS containing foam. We house and operate the only county resource for foam, a 660-gallon foam trailer that was donated by Buckeye around in 2010. So we had to dispose of all of that product and then figure out how we were going to pay for and fill that tank back up because our roadways are important. We obviously have the potential for a significant flammable liquids emergency, and through a cooperative agreement and fantastic working relationship with Buckeye Partners, they donated 550 gallons of synthetic universal green foam with 100 gallons on the way, which will completely fill that trailer for us, which is fantastic. So what are we doing from here? The beginning of last year, we created a strategic planning committee, which involved 10 members from our department and municipal personnel from all 3 municipalities that we serve. We just completed our SWOT analysis on looking at every aspect of the fire department, and the goal from here is to hopefully have a product that we can present to all of our municipalities by the end of spring with a list of, we already created a list of goals, but we need to put a timeline to them and then revisit that in another 5 years to continue moving forward. We created a committee to begin building on paper and speccing out a new fire apparatus to replace our squirt, which is a 68-foot aerial ladder. Currently, the industry is a roughly 4-year build time. So that apparatus is due for replacement in 2030. So by completing this process throughout 2026, the goal would be that we would be right in line with that 20-year apparatus replacement.
And Is the fire department or is it Lower McCutcheon Township that's going to be paying for that piece of equipment?
I've actually had one conversation with Mr. Beidel, and we're going to continue talking about that, just logistically what that looks like.
Okay.
Do you have an approximate cost on what that would be?
Between probably 1.8 and $2 million. So the same fire truck that we bought the township bought for our Alberta station was $775,000 in 2017, and that truck last year was $1.3 million. So I talked about our membership, and I talked about our new reporting software. Are there any questions for me regarding the fire department?
I just want to say thank you for your service and how well you've been running the department, and you guys do an excellent job.
I appreciate that. It takes an entire team, and glad everybody is engaged and continues to put in all the effort for training and coming out even when it's not the most convenient of times.
Excellent. And equally, thank you for presenting the information. I know we were able to read through it, but the very first question I had is, wow, that was a big increase of things. And I knew there would probably be some sort of explanation of why. And being able to hear that and also all the other details that go with that. So appreciate it.
I actually will elaborate on that a little bit more because I don't know if I completely answered that. So when I looked at where the increase was in 150 calls in the township, they were all over the place. The calls ranged from, there wasn't a significant jump in just one area. So I think part of it is just more reliance on public safety and public service. I think, and that's kind of what we push in the fire prevention program is, if you need us, call.
Yeah, no. All right. Informative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the next item, item number 6, hearings and approvals. There is no item. Next is public comment on non-agenda topics. Does anyone have a comment? If you do, if you'll come up to the podium, if you'll please state your name and address.
Good evening, everybody. Reverend Dr. Jeff Whitcomb, 3475 Chester Drive, Lower Macungie, PA, but Lower Macungie Township, 18062. On behalf of my wife, Reverend Dr. Mariah Bailey Whitcomb, and myself, I wanted to say congratulations to all the new township supervisors for being elected and being in the position. We appreciate you all, and we appreciate everybody serving on this. I wanted to say to you that I am running for the Pennsylvania 187th House District, and I'm trying to make it around to all the different township supervisors and to ask you, what are your concerns long-term for things that the state can get to you? Some of the concerns I've heard so far have included things like having to deal with unfunded state mandates, trying to figure out how we're going to fund different things such as EMS services, trying to put together comprehensive packages of services that meet local needs but don't feel like we're trying to go hand to mouth and robbing Peter to pay Paul. I wanted to ask you if there's something that is a burning concern in Lower Macungie Township that I can know about as I run for the Democratic nomination to see whether it's something we could put in Harrisburg.
I'll go. When I was canvassing for this election, I heard a lot of concerns from our residents about traffic. And because of many of our roads being state roads,
Right.
we need to have good collaboration with PennDOT.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Can you,
I'm sorry.
Julie can't hear.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry. So I'll just repeat from the beginning in case anybody didn't hear it. I heard a lot of concerns from residents about traffic. Many of our roads are state roads, so we need assistance from PennDOT to make any changes happen. People are concerned about backups. They're concerned about unsafe roads. The weave near 222 and 78. And I think getting more support from PennDOT would be very helpful.
And if you watch previous meetings online, you will see that that refrain was repeated many times.
One of my big concerns is associated with the centralized sewer disposal system in the county. That the work at Klein's Island and at the pretreatment plant in Fogelsville are going to be big ticket items, and a lot of the municipalities would be very strained to try to come up with the money for filling those needs.
Yes, sir. I grew up in Ancient Oaks over here back in the early 70s, and a lot of the roads, as you well know, are still exactly the same, and a lot of the infrastructure is the same, with the exception of the new quote-unquote bypass and things like that. So thank you for those concerns, and I'll be stopping back at future commissioner meetings to continue to ask these questions because, as I said, I'm a local resident, and your concerns are our concerns. So thank you so much, and thank you for everybody's service for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, let me interrupt.
Any other public comments? All right. Hearing none. Communications, actually, I'll turn that over to Mr. Biddle.
Thank you. We have just one item this evening. Mr. John Ashcroft, who was the township's conflict solicitor, has advised us he's unable to serve any longer. So that is his letter of resignation from that position.
Is this an item that we bid out? Is this how does this get filled?
Yeah, we're preparing a request for proposals, myself and the solicitor's office. We'll have more on the workshop on an update on where we are with it. So we'll get the board more complete picture of our timeline and where we are.
Thank you. Was that progress then? No other items?
That is progress.
Great. We just went through this last one, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. We had many of them last week. Last meeting. I don't believe that there are any others this week, correct? All right. Hopefully everyone had a chance to read the meeting minutes from January 5th, 2026.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. We have a motion that's been properly seconded. Are there any comments from members of the board? Any comments from members of the public? Hearing none. What is the correct term?
Call for the vote.
Call for vote. And it's just we're just asking for a vote, right? So everyone's saying an aye at the same time? Okay.
Correct.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's a 4-0 vote. Next item is approval of transfers, bill list, and payroll. Mr. Biddle?
Thank you. We have the following for the board's consideration. I would also note for the record that all of our bill lists are posted on the township's website and on these agendas for public review. With that, the general fund, $456,204.82. The solid waste fund, $13,775. The sewer fund, $102,575. The capital projects fund, $1,020.22. The liquid fuels fund, $2,247.83. The payroll, $173,858 for a total of all funds, $749,680.87.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion from members of the board? Discussion from members of the public? Hearing none. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. 4-0. Next item are department matters and reports. I guess I start with our engineer, Mr. McAdam.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just one item tonight for you, and it's an escrow release for the Merchtown residential subdivision. It's escrow release number 3. We're recommending that $2,995,464.63 be released. As usual, we have reviewed the request for this, the items, and what winds up at this total, and we're good with it.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? And do both of you understand what it is, what is actually being released, how that works? Is it worth an explanation? Can you just give a very, I know I do know what it is, but
No.
just for the sense of the,
Not a problem.
I would appreciate an explanation.
Not a problem. I'll try to be brief. When projects go to construction after they're approved, part of the development agreement is that financial security has to be posted for the construction items. And as construction proceeds, the respective developers put in requests to have their accounts drawn down relative to what they've installed. Our office gets those requests. We go out in the field. We're out in the field just about every day regardless, but we review the specific requests and we will approve or reject, which occasionally happens, items that we feel were appropriate for release. So that happens, depends on the frequency, depends on the size of the project, but it's a very common thing as part of the developments. So it'll be, I will be making announcements for escrow releases probably close to every meeting for different projects. But that's really all it is. And just to assure the new board members, like I said, we're on site regardless, but when it comes to the escrow releases, we go back through and double check, like, oh yeah, we're good with that. Yes, we have field notes from they put this stretch of pipe in, blah, blah, blah. So that's what it's all about.
thank you. I figured an explanation might be helpful at this,
No,
because
no,
I know
I
this
just-
comes
I
up
just think-
frequently, so.
No, it's fine. I take it for granted because I've been doing it for so long, but
Exactly.
no problem.
Perfect. So we heard discussion from the board. Any members of the public have any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, 4-0. Are there any other items, Mr. McAdam?
The only other thing to mention in your packet was the monthly status report.
I had a question from the status report. For item 17 for grant applications, looks like we had $1 million grant application for East Texas Park Playground rehab, and it was declined.
Yes.
Any feedback or more information on that you can share?
I'd
Also any impacts?
have to look into it, but the shame of the grant applications is we try to apply for as many as we feel would be appropriate for various projects that the township has in mind. And honestly, it's at least in my opinion, it's kind of hit or miss. It's very hard to predict whether you're going to get one or not. A lot of times grants the grant groups are more prone to award grants that are multi-municipal. It just makes everybody look better, right? But that doesn't deter us. We have applied for the park projects and stuff. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. I don't handle them directly, so I couldn't tell you why it was rejected. We might not have even got a reason. But we will continue to apply for grants. And sometimes, I will say, sometimes dependent on the grant, dependent on the project, if you don't get it the one year and the project is still needed and couldn't be paid for, you apply it again the next year to try again. That is, the whole grant thing is great, but it's an entity unto itself. It's kind of funky.
Yeah, and just to follow up, so we as a staff have come up with a kind of an overall program for East Texas Park that includes some additional connective pathways to, potentially a new or upgraded restroom facility, ADA compliant restroom facility. This grant was, in the ballpark of around $1 million. I can say it doesn't affect our playground construction. The playground was included in there. However, we're always budgeting and mindful that, as Mr. McAdam has said, these grants aren't a sure thing. So it will not impact our project on that side of it. I believe not have to look. I think this was the local gambling, so local share or LSA. We applied for numerous LSAs, one at the local level, even though they're all called local share. This project was into the statewide funding, and of course that's extremely competitive for those areas, that may have identified other projects. So it will not impact our East Texas project. I will say, and I'll give it to the workshop, but it looks preliminarily like our grant request for our comprehensive recreation plan is going to be awarded. So at least on that side of it, we will be potentially seeing success on, part of these grants. I will say we're also planning extensive grant submissions for the spring on various park projects, as well as, potential trail pathways as we look to narrow down our list here and funding organizations. So we'll continue to keep the board updated on that at the workshops.
Thank you.
Great. Any other comments or questions? All right, moving on. Solicitor's report. Mr. Bowman?
Nothing this evening, Mr. Vice President,
Great.
unless anybody has a question for me.
Hearing none. Township Manager.
Thank you. Just to follow up on two items this evening that were discussed. One of them, of course, thank you to the fire department. The chief's not in the room anymore, but the chief and President Thompson, we regularly meet with them, and their leadership is evident, and we appreciate their continued conversations. So we always feel like we're in good hands with both them and EMS. And then also as follow-up, once again, condolences to the Van Wert family, and everybody at Jim's fire department family for the loss of for Mr. Van Wert. I can say, he was the actual second firefighter I met here when I arrived in the township to welcome me, even with my Pittsburgh Penguins hat on and his Philadelphia Flyers love. He accepted me into the Lower Macungie family, and I want to make sure that I also acknowledge him and just his dedication and his personal approach to always including me anytime the fire department was around. So condolences from the entire township, the board, to him and his family. And that's all I have, unless there's questions for me.
No questions. Other business, any unfinished business that needs to be reviewed? No. Board of Commissioners reports. Next board workshop is January 26th at 6 p.m. And then our next regular meeting is February 5th, 2026. No executive session, correct? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
No. None. 4-0 vote. We are adjourned at 6:45.